He said, all my wives are well taken care of. I have afforded them the same lifestyle. He said, and it will be the same for you. Girl, I'm out here vulnerable in these concubine streets, sis, okay? Child, the moral of the story is, I done put in my 2 weeks notice in my job. I'm about to be out here in these harem streets, hopping out of forest with my sister wife. God, am I not your child? Baby, have I not been a humble servant? Girl, pull up some popcorn, pull up some wine, pull up some snacks. Cause girl, this one is a doozy. This one is a wild ride, baby. Hi guys, Naturelle Bombshell here, and welcome to my channel. As you can tell by the title of this video, I am going to share with you a very interesting and recent dating experience that I had in the ATL. But anyway, if you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, hey girl, hey. On my channel, I talk about beauty, fashion, lifestyle, my life as a plus size model, dating these ATL streets, girl, and out here living my concubine life, baby. So make sure you click that subscribe button and notification bell if you want more. Also, follow me on Instagram where I share more. Without further ado, let's get into it. Get your popcorn, get your snacks, because this is about to be some tea, okay? And let me give a disclaimer. This is not to, besmirch anybody's, name, character, their tribe, or their ethnicity, or whatever the case may be, or their nationality. This is just my recent personal dating experience that happened to me. Okay, so I'm going to break it up in 3 parts. The first part is, I'm going to tell you how I met this guy. The second part is I'm going to tell you about our actual date. And then the third part, I'm going to tell you about a guy that I know that is African. And he gave me his kind of, I guess, view or insight on it. Okay, so this happened MLK weekend. And I got my friend's opinion. We went out last night because I wanted to get his insight on what happened. Okay, so how I met the guy. I was getting ready to go to a dinner party with my friend, and she stopped to get gas. And so I went into the store, and so it was this guy in the store. He just, sparked light conversation with me, and we just kind of exchanged pleasantries or whatever the case may be. So then as I'm at the register checking out, I look down to get my debit card or whatever the case may be, and he reaches over to the cashier and pays for it. And so I was like, oh, you didn't have to do that. And then he was like, no, I insist. I said, oh, okay, well, thank you so much, that's sweet. So as we walking out of the store, we're still talking, just exchanging information and things like that. And so my friend was started to pump the gas. And so he was like, no, I'll get that for you. He was like, let me pump it. And she was like, oh no, I'm fine. She was like, but thank you though. And so he said, he was like, well, I'm supposed to be, talking to women and just sitting here and let a woman pump gas. He was like, no, that'll make me look real bad. And so, we just kind of like chuckled or whatever. And if my friends know me, like, that's the thing for me. Like, if I'm at the gas station and guys approach me, at least offer to pump my gas. Like, you don't have to pay for it, but at least offer. So anyway, so that's what he did. So, okay, obviously, ding, that's a point for him. And so, okay, so from there, we left the gas station. We had exchanged information, had like a light conversation. So fast forward, we go out to dinner. And at dinner we having, great conversation. It's a vibe. And so I ended up just asking him about dating. I said, so, how's dating? I said, because I said, you have to have a few on your roster. I said, I can just tell by how you move. And he started laughing. And I said, well, are you seeing anyone? And so he was just kind of like, laughing or, like a light chuckle or whatever. And he was like, yes. I said, okay. I said, was it anything serious? He said, yes. I said, well, and he was just like, I was like, so are you married? And he was like, yes, I am. So I'm like, Okay, listen, it's about to keep going. It's about to keep going. So I said, well, if you're married, you know, what was to become of this? I said, because, you know, I'm not about to be a mistress. I said, so what am I was supposed to be a mistress? Am I supposed to be a side chick? He said, no, I would never pursue a woman for a mistress. He said a mistress, he was just like, that's just, you know, low, degrading. He said I would never be interested in pursuing or interested in the well-being of a mistress. I said, okay. I said, well, if you tell me you married and if you're pursuing me romantically, I said, you know, in essence, I said, technically, that would make me a mistress. I said, what else would become of it? He said, well, if things progress with us and were to get serious, he said, and if the situation is deserving and proved to be deserving, then you would potentially become my wife. I said, well, you already have a wife. Girl, I'm out here vulnerable in these concubine streets, sis, okay? So I said, well, you were already, I said, well, you already have a wife. And he said, I have 3. So you would potentially become my 4th wife, y'all. I'm out here. I'm about to be in a whole harem. What is going on in my life? And so I said, you have 3 wives? And he said, yes, I have 3. He said, you will be a 4th. He said, but all my wives are well taken care of. I said, okay, well, how many do you want? I said, you know, no. I said, well, how many do you want? He said, well, I can potentially have as many as I can provide for and afford. I said, okay. I said, well, then what's that number? I said, is it 10? Is it 20? I said, you know, do you want to be like DMX? You know, I got Brenda, Letitia, Linda, Felicia, about 3 Kims, Latoya, Tina. So he said, so he started laughing, chuckled. He was like, no. That's too many. I said, well, then what's your number? I said, it got to be a number. At this point, I am obviously intrigued. Not interested in the sense of I want to delve in the lifestyle, but I'm so flabbergasted and taken aback about it. You know, I'm just, who would not inquire, so to speak? So I said, well, is it, I said, so what is the number? He said, realistically, he said, with my lifestyle and my dynamic and my time, he said, I can see myself wanting more than 5. I said, 5? I said, you want 5 wives? And he said, not to say that I want 5, he said, or if I want 4. He said, but if I meet someone, he said, I pursue someone and I'm interested, and things get serious, then, you know, that's what it would be. Now, let me digress from the story right quick. Now, I don't think that he was asking me in this moment to be his 4th wife or to be a wife, but in one of his women or whatever the situation is. I just think he was was saying, if I was to, I guess, become serious, or we were to become serious, this is the dynamic that, you know, would be coming of it, or would be coming of our union. Okay, so back to the story. So I said 5 wives. I said, well, I said, let's say I become the 4th wife. I said, in the Olympics, you have your top 3. I said, you have your gold medalist, your silver medalist, and your bronze. I said, so what would I be? I said, would I be a copper medalist? Would I be aluminum? And he gonna say, child, he getting in my head now, okay? He said, would you aspire to have a life of copper? Would you aspire to have a life of aluminum? He said, all my wives are well taken care of. I have afforded them the same lifestyle. He said, and it would be the same for you. I said, okay, I gotta be missing something. I said, is it just an ego thing that you just want all these women? I said, or, you know, are we living in one big happy, you know, one big house is one big happy family? I said, everybody working and pooling and putting the money together, and so it's an economic thing? And he said, no. He said, my wives don't have to work. He said, all of them have their own homes. Baby, all of them have their own homes. I said, so I wouldn't have to work? Like, none of them work? He said, they don't have to. He said, I take care of them well. He said, they're well kept. He said, the ones that work because they want to. He said, and then the one that doesn't, he said, she's never worked. She just always wants to stay at home. He said, but they each have their own home. He said, now two chose to live together. He said he feels that there was because, I guess, the, you know, the kids may have been close in age, or the, you know, the dynamic of it. I said, okay. I said, so I asked him, I said, so I wouldn't have to work? He said, no. I said, you know, I said, so what would my dynamic be? He said, well, he said, I would buy you a home, and you would have our children. So I guess he and I would have kids. He said, you will, you know, tend to the kids and tend to the house. I said, okay. I said, well, you know, is this polyamorous? I said, you know, do they have husbands? I said, you know, you mentioned two live together. I said, are they romantically involved? We have a husband and wife. You know, it's like, that's my lady, that's my wife dynamic. Okay, so let me digress from the story, or digress from the conversation. So as we're, you know, there, our food comes out, you know, in the midst of all this. And so you know, we have, you know, and we've had appetizers, entrees, and so when I'm getting my entree, you know, we, you know, have different things, and so I'm tasting it. I was like, ooh, this is good. I said, you should try some. And so he was like, oh no, I'm good, thank you. And then so as I'm eating it, I was like, oh, this was just like, you know, my dish I had. I said, no, this is real good. I was like, you should try it. And then he tasted it, and he was like, oh yeah, it is good, I'll have some. And so he just sit back, and so I'm like, have some. You know, I'm looking like, you know, I scoop my plate over, and I'm like, you know, have some. He gonna say, aren't you gonna fix it for me? And so girl, I'm out here vulnerable like the princess of Zamunda out here. Girl, what is going on? So I said, fix this. And so as I'm like processing it all, like, first of all, let me digress again. I don't have a problem fixing a man, you know, plate. I actually feel like, you know, that is the way that how it should be. I'm Southern. I don't have an issue with fixing a man plate. And I was even telling my homies that's at my job, my, you know, the dudes I'm cool with, I was even telling them about a story. I was like, even if y'all were to come to my house and I cook for y'all and I'm cool with y'all, I said, I will fix your plate. Or I will at least offer and say, you know, hey, you want me to fix your plate? So I don't have a problem with fixing a man plate. So, but I have never fixed a man plate in a restaurant. So I'm just like sitting here like, fix this? Oh, and another thing I had said, like when I was fixing the food or whatever, I was like, this is some pimp shit right here. And so he was like, pimp? He was like, why would you say that? I said, this is just beyond. And so he said, he was like, a pimp will have women and go and have their women lay with men and strangers and bring them back money to support their lifestyle. He said, I would never have a woman bring me money and support me. He said, and a lot of men, they lie. He said, I'm a good man. And he said, and I don't lie about my lifestyle. He said, a lot of men have a lot of women, and he said they lie and won't tell the other women. And he said, and then they'll expect, he said that they can't care for them, take care of them, and they'll expect the woman to take care of them. He said that'll never happen in my households, plural, child, foolish. And so I said, well, you do have a point. It's okay. So back to the story. Well, actually, a funny thing, when I was telling my coworkers back then, I had got to this part of the story where I was telling him, and so something happened where I had to, go to my desk or whatever the case may be and take care of something. And when I came back, my one of my coworkers was like, yeah. He said, because we want to hear this, because we want to see if you fix that plate though. And I was like, y'all, he got me. He got me. And so anyway, I, fix the plate. Y'all, this is beyond. Because, at least, I was here providing a nice meal. Like I say, it was out of my comfort zone, but wasn't just so disrespectful or whatever to do. But to be honest, he was really respectful the whole time. The essence of him, he carried himself, he was cool and, respectful and decent anyway, but, ideologist beyond. But anyway, so then I'm just, listening to all this and taking all this in, we still, talking about the dynamic and everything. And so I'm thinking the man lying or scamming me or just talking, or maybe he's just trying to, buck up a bit and just, make it seem like he got it like this. And so I end up saying, because I'm nosing, I want the tea. And so I said, let me see your wives. So he was like, sure, I'll show you. So he take out his phone, he's swiping. And I'm looking. I'm like, oh. I was like, beautiful. And he showed me, a picture with them, him and them. I said, oh, beautiful, pretty women, very beautiful. And y'all, I'm looking, and when I said that, I was like, oh, beautiful. He was like, I have a type. And I'm looking at the women, y'all. Guess who they look like? Me. When I was telling my friends, I was like, either they look like me or I look like them. Like, the essence of us is the same. Like, my complexion, kind of caramel color, full of bodies, full of, curvier women. Now, they didn't seem to be as tall as me. Okay, so going back to the conversation. So he said, I have a type when I'm looking through the pictures. So I said, okay. I said, well, expound upon it. Like, what's your type? He said, I like a pretty face. I like nice skin. He said, I like a well put together woman. He said, I like a woman with a healthy frame. Every time I just talk about this, it just cracks me up. He said, I like a woman with a healthy frame, baby. Hey, they love Miss Big Fine. What can I say? And so, yeah, so that was essentially like, the dinner or whatever for the date. So I ended up telling him, oh, let me tell you about like some little things, like nuances throughout the date that was happening, that he was just kind of like flexing his dominance almost. So when kind of like towards the end of when we were finishing up our food, I asked the waiter, can I have a water to go? And he brought me back a water like in the restaurant glass. And so I was like, and I just said thank you. And he was like, and then the guy, he was like, didn't you say you wanted a water to go? I was like, oh, okay. I was like, that's fine. I can just drink, finish this up and drink this here. He was like, no. He was like, excuse me. He was like, she wanted one to go. So just kind of like little stuff like that. And then as we were like leaving, I was getting ready to open the door. And then he was like, He was like, let me do that for you. And so I was like, okay. And then it wasn't even like a door. I don't even know what to say, but it's literally like just, I was just going out the restaurant. He's like, oh, let me do that for you. So just like little things and nuances like that, just flexing his dominance. So I could just tell then he was very just very I don't even want to say chauvinist because he didn't really say negative, but I can see that his wives would be very subservient or whatever. But child, the moral of the story is I done put in my 2 weeks notice in my job. I'm about to be out here in these harem streets, hopping out of foreigns with my sister wife. Cause I'm out here flexing, okay? This is beyond. This was beyond. But anyway, I ended up telling him, you know, texting him, and I said, you know what, thank you for a lovely evening. It was a lovely dinner. But, you know, obviously our ideologies and views on marriage or relationships, you know, are not the same. My camera cut off. So, what was the last thing I said? Oh, so I end up going out with my friend last night, because I want to ask him about, you know, the previous weekend, what happened, my encounter. And my friend, he's Nigerian, and so I asked him what happened. And so he was like, how old is this guy? I said, and I told him his age. You know, I want to say the man age, protect his privacy. And you know, he is middle aged. And he said, he said, because this is such an older way. He said, even my friends, he said, and people in my circles, he's like, they no longer do this. They don't live like this. He said, even in my parents' generation, he said it was uncommon. He said, you may see it every now and then. He said, but it's such an old way. He said, what tribe is he? So I told him the tribe. Now my friend Justin and this guy is a different tribe. And what Justin was saying is that just because obviously you're from where obviously Africa is a large continent and it's a huge diaspora, but what Justin was saying, he said you can be Nigerian and you can be, you know, a part of several different you know, areas, and obviously several different tribes. He was saying, you know, that the main, I guess, most populated tribes are Igbo, Yoruba, and Hausa. I think I'm pronouncing them all right. Okay, he said, but even though they are so populous, he said their customs and traditions are totally, you know, different, can be like night and day. So he said, where did you meet this guy? And I told him how I met him. And he said, he said, I don't know. And then so as he was saying it, I was going on and telling him like some of the stuff he was saying. And then he was like, He said, it may be some truth to it. He said, because everything that he's saying, he was basically saying everything that he was saying is how the lifestyle would be. Because even he said he would take care of you and he would have to keep you all up the same. And if he didn't, it would look like he's basically like struggling or suffering or something like that. Like he's not doing well. Like you can't keep up all of this, so to speak. So my friend name is Justin, and I said, Justin, I even asked him, let me see the wives. And I was like, they look like me. And so he started busting out laughing. I said, I'm for real. He said, I know. He said, I bet they are fuller. I'm talking about my body, baby. Fuller. And then I said, yes. And so he was like, he said, it may be some truth to this then. He said, because everything that you're saying, he said, this is how it would be. He said, if he is living this way, he said, but polygamous is such an old thing. He said, you know, really, especially if you're westernized, you do not live this way. He said, but he said, what are you telling me and the things that you are saying? Now, my friend did say, well, not my friend Justin, but the guy rather, did say he will be moving back to Africa. That's, you know, his end goal is to move back. But yeah, so when I asked my friend, he said like the things that he was saying, he was like the details and dynamics, he said that is true, that is how it would be. So, and he's so funny, he's like, why the hell does this man want 5 wives? He said, I used to have one and I was stressed. I was like, stressed, baby. Okay. So yeah, child, so girl, that's the tea. That is what I experienced out here in these ATL streets. So guys, thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe, go forth, and prosper.